family of a retired army officer who committed suicide this week have blamed the banking crisis for their father's death. Major Bill Foxton shot himself near his home in Southampton after finding out that he'd lost his entire life savings in the hedge funds run by Bernie Madoff, the American who's accused of massive fraud. Our special correspondent, Alan Little, has more details.
Bill Foxton was no stranger to risk. He'd spent his career in the world's war zones, Oman, Bosnia, Kosovo, and until a few months ago, Afghanistan. As a young man, he'd even joined the French Foreign Legion. That's him on the right. On Tuesday afternoon, he walked into this park near his home in Southampton, lay down on a park bench, put a gun to his head and pulled the trigger. Last week he'd spoken to his son, Willard Foxton, and told him his entire life savings had been lost, close probably to £1 million.
He told me in no uncertain terms that he had lost everything into hedge funds that were linked to the Madoff financial scandal. The banks where the hedge fund money was were not returning his calls because the offices had closed down. He sounded more shaken than I ever heard him.
More shaken than he was a decade ago when he frequently patrolled the conflict zones of Kosovo. He was for a time spokesman for the OSCE.
It means two things. It means either there are no more refugees or that they can't cross the mountain.
For his work here he was awarded the OBE. The financier Bernie Madoff is under house arrest and accused of one of the biggest frauds in American financial history. The fund he'd been running, which offered high rates of return to investors, turned out to be bogus. Billions of dollars of his clients' money simply disappeared. Willard Foxton believes his father to be a victim not just of Bernie Madoff, but of the banking crisis in general. He contrasts his father's fate with that of many leading bankers.
It's the little people that are going to pick up the pieces, really, isn't it? I mean, they're all retiring. Even the ones who are getting fired for wrecking their banks completely are walking away with millions and millions of pounds. Ultimately, they're not having a phone call saying your father shot yourself.
His family cannot now know to what depths of despair Bill Foxton sank. He was facing bankruptcy and an impoverished old age, and chose, it seems, to accept neither. Alan Little, BBC News.